This historical photo captured two smiles, hiding the traces of war. Because in the 1940s, even love felt like a miracle sometimes. Their hands weren't holding the scars of battle, but hope. If you had to describe this photo in just three words, what would they be? In 1945, hope began to bloom from the ashes of World War II. Marlene Dietrich gave a returning soldier a small miracle. That day, the greatest celebration wasn't a hero's parade. It was a kiss. In the 1920s Turkey, seeing a child like this quietly told a story. At the time, Afro-Turks were a forgotten minority, living in the shadows of history. This little boy was captured posing in a tiny soldier's uniform. In 1911, in Antarctica, the coldest place on Earth, this man nearly froze to death in -40 degrees. His name was Edward Evans, a member of the Terra Nova expedition. The skin on his hands had cracked open, and his breath froze mid-air like shattered glass. This historical photo captured the moment these girls would never smile the same way again. Because that day wasn't just a graduation day. The place, Lithuania. The time, late 1980s. A youth growing up under the shadow of the Soviet Union. They received their diplomas, but their freedom was still in chains. Some quietly fled the country. Others simply vanished. This old photo shows the first step taken by thousands who believed in one of history's greatest lies. Because this ship was hailed as unsinkable. Yes, Titanic, the one and only. You're witnessing the moment it slowly departed Southampton Harbor in 1912. Everyone on the dock watched in awe, but no one knew what was coming just days later. The chicken this girl is holding was the only thing she owned. In the early 1900s, poverty had gripped the slums of Europe and America. Some fought for a few coins, others just for a warm meal. This little girl had only this chicken her entire life. And on that day, someone captured the moment forever. This little boy believed a pillow could soften the pain of falling. In the harsh winter winds of 1933 in the Netherlands, a child was preparing for his first experience on ice. The soft cushion strapped to his back was the only safety he was given. This giant tank changed the course of the war, without a single bullet inside. In 1945, before the Normandy landings, the Allies executed an unthinkable plan. Hundreds of inflatable fake tanks were spread across fields to look real. From aerial photos, the Germans saw a massive army, but in reality, it was just sandbags and plastic. German generals shifted troops to face a phantom threat, leaving the real landing site exposed. In the 1920s, New York, skyscrapers were the city's new temples. This man hung 20 stories high on one of them. No safety rope, just for a stunt. Why he did it still remains a mystery. Was it bravery or madness? What do you think? In this photo, a man holds not just his own life, but the fate of another living being in his hands. 1906, Italy. Federico Caprilli was about to change the history of horseback riding. He developed a natural, free-riding technique that eased human pressure and taught trust in the animal. And Caprilli descended that steep slope, relying on one thing alone: his horse. At first glance, this thing looks like a spaceship, but it's actually a house. In 1968, Finnish architect Matti Suronen designed this mountain cabin for skiers. Quick to heat, adaptable to any terrain. Clad in fiberglass, 8 meters wide, 4 meters tall, and made of 16 pieces. It was called the Futuro House. Inside were built-in seats, a central fireplace, and a door that opened like an airplane hatch. But the 1973 oil crisis sent plastic prices soaring, and production stopped. Only around 100 were ever made. Once upon a time, hard to believe now, but skirts flowed through the streets of Afghanistan, laughter rose into the sky, and no one was afraid. In 1972, Kabul, the capital of Afghanistan, was glowing with modernity and education. This photo was taken in that exact moment. But within just a few decades, these scenes vanished like a dream. Today, in those same streets, even a woman's breath is a battlefield. The elegant dresses you see in this photo were a declaration of social status in the 1890s. At the time, a young woman's graduation was one of the most important milestones of her life. With voluminous skirts, silk gloves, and heavy flower bouquets, the day was unforgettable for years to come. It was one of the rare moments when a woman could quietly tell society, "I am now an adult." How much do you pay for a hamburger today? What if it were just 5 cents? On the dusty streets of Texas, this little stand once served miracles. The Buku hamburger stand. Hot, juicy burgers for only a nickel. People shook off the day's fatigue on these stools, and friendships grew right at this counter. If this cozy scene reminds you of the good old days, leave a like on the video. In 1930s America, even divorce was something worth celebrating. But no one expected this. The "just divorced" sign hanging on the back of this vintage car shattered the era's shy silence. Back then, divorce was seen as a shameful secret in many places. But this man chose not to feel shame. Instead, he proudly celebrated his freedom. In the streets of a nation newly risen from the ashes of World War II, two silent figures seemed to speak without words. In 1946, these two young girls drifted through the streets of Kyoto like a secret. They carried not just beauty, but hope. They were Maiko, apprentice artists, not yet full geishas, but already bearing the weight of tradition on their shoulders. In 1914, delivering mail through the quiet trails of rural America took real courage. You had to travel winding roads carved with deep ruts in the dirt. Could we still wait for a message today if it meant a journey like that? In 1908, a woman defied gravity. Gertrude Dewar, known as Mademoiselle Omega, glided with grace across a thin wire. No safety net, no harness, just balance and pure courage. That day at the Brockton Fair, everyone watching witnessed a performance they would never forget.